So, hey, appreciate you taking the time to talk. I think it's been a little over 3 years. I could be wrong, but I could have swore the first time I checked you guys out was at Envision Festival in Costa Rica.
Yeah, yeah, we were there. That was quite the weekend. That was kind of a legendary weekend for us. We had like it was just the craziest international trip that's ever transpired in my life. Um, but yeah, that was the show was fun.
Yeah, just love the whole vibe of everything. I mean, the festival, and you guys just had like a perfect fit for it. I mean, what was kind of the impression? Because I was still kind of in the early going with the band.
Yeah, it really, really was. It was kind of a stressful time in the band too because I've always I made the decision to run everything as like sole proprietor, meaning everyone gets paid regardless of how much income is coming in, and no income at that time was really coming in. So it was just a really stressful phase. And yeah, the three of us at that time, that was me, Carl, and our old drummer, Keller, had really only been touring together for about a year. Um, and yeah, I mean, everything was new. My goal at that point was just to every show, just put on the absolute, and it's still my goal every show, but um, we're just trying to get these opportunities regardless of money. And, I just said yes to everything. So if it was, it didn't matter what the show was, I said yes. Um, but yeah, since then, now we have a new drummer, we have another guitar player, a lot bigger sound, a little more refined. Um, but yeah, that was pretty early on in the story. That was a pretty transformative time in the band for sure.
And it definitely seems musically. I mean, to I don't know, maybe to myself and to some fans, it's almost like the music that you create is kind of like its own sanctuary in a way because it's got that positive, uplifting vibe. Is that kind of like the way you write, or it just consciously it just kind of happens?
Yeah, it's definitely not a conscious effort. Like I never sit down and say, here's what I want to write, or I want to write, it just happens. I sit down and write, and what comes out comes out. And especially so much of that early stuff, I was just trying to figure out who the hell I was, and was just kind of trying to be my own life coach. So a lot of the stuff that I was writing was just very much trying to encourage myself to keep going and keep following the thing, and um, and trust myself. So a lot of it just kind of came out as this very like positive motivational stuff, but really I was writing it to myself, and it's a huge blessing that it resonated with other people.
What's it been like, kind of the transition process? Because I understand you just signed with Side One. So has anything really changed up, or they just want you guys as you are?
Yeah, pretty much. And early on in the deal, there was talks of wanting us to work with this other producer, and I was really insistent that I wanted to produce the next record myself, just because I had written all these songs and I could hear them finished in my head. That was the joke that I kept telling everyone when we were recording, was like, man, I just can't wait until you guys get to listen to this record, because I've been listening to it for 6 months. And they were really cool, man. They were really cool. They gave me 100% creative control. They've been super easy to work with. My manager, Matt, is in love with their team. But yeah, there was no sort of creative control. I mean, they initially were like, it would be cool to see. I've never worked with a producer. I've always produced everything myself with my best friend and bass player, Carl, kind of co-producing and really being like the engineer. And I always say that he's like the translator between me and the computers. So, there was initially, they wanted me to see what would happen if I worked with another producer, but when I told them I didn't want to, they were really cool with it. So yeah, it's been very awesome.
Has anything changed as far as, obviously COVID's kind of detracted a lot of things, but when you get back to touring, could you see yourself latching on with, I guess, artists within the label, or is it going away like jumping on with Michael Franti or something like that?
No, I would say the new stuff is very Montana. There's lots of pedal steel and fiddle and um, yeah, a lot more Americana influenced. Like it's funny. I was just sharing the songs with a good childhood friend of mine, and he's like, "Man, this is like if Garth Brooks' band from the '90s played with the Pixies and had you sing." So it's like it's a little different sound, but everyone that I've played it for is like, has said that it's still us. It still sounds like Satsang. It doesn't sound contrived or like I'm trying to do anything. It just, man, it had been for the past 6 years, dude. I've just been touring nonstop. So, and prior to that, I was a dirtbag. I climbed and I skied and I fly fished, and that was my life. I was outside all of the time, and because of touring and stuff like that, my time at home was so limited that I kind of got away from doing a lot of those things. I still ski and shit like that, but it just, my time at home became so valuable that it was just so focused on my family. But when COVID happened, I was just like, oh shit, okay, I'm gonna be home for an entire summer. That hasn't happened in 6 years. So I was spending 2-3 days a week on the river. I was rock climbing again and hiking with my son, and I just really got back out outside again, and it just kind of influenced the music in a way.
Yeah, and I understand that reflective approach. Also dived in with your mom joining you on that Randy Travis cover, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up listening to country music with my mom. That was all she listened to. And it's funny, I kind of despite, when I was real little, I enjoyed it. But by the time I hit middle school, all I listened to was punk rock and hip hop because I skateboarded. So that was what was in every skate video, and that was all I wanted to listen to, was punk rock and skateboarding. And then, got into jam bands and that whole scene, which I think when anyone starts getting into jam bands, they start finding themselves listening to a lot of old, The Doors and Zeppelin and all that kind of old shit. So my mom always told me, like, you're going to come back, when you're older, you'll appreciate this music. And she was right. I mean, I listened to a lot of Waylon Jennings and a lot of Randy Travis. I listen to a lot of that old country now all the time,
With her having joined you, I mean, getting to sing on the track, could you ever see any other family members joining in, or is that like, this is it, you had your moment in the sun?
Well, my dad is actually an okay guitar player, and he can sing too. So yeah, we've talked about it. I want to do something for him, whether that's, recording a song together for the hell of it, or having him come on stage for something, yeah, like, it's just a cool thing. I think for a long time, my family and close friends were really concerned about what I was going to do with myself, and the fact that I've made music work has made them quite proud, because it's all it's what I've always said I was going to do. So yeah, it's fun to incorporate them, and and yeah, maybe I'll have my dad do something with me at some point.
What's your take on the whole idea of cover songs? I know some people that kind of feel like, it's a fun thing every once in a while, but I mean, like, when you take a cover, instead of just rehashing it exactly the same way, which is definitely not what you did with the Randy Travis song, you really made it your own. I mean, is that important to like keep doing, or is it just something that, like, it means something to you and it's gonna come out the way it comes out?
Yeah, for me, anytime, this is the first time we've recorded a cover, but and maybe I think it has to do with growing up, and loving jam bands. Is, when you went to a jam band show, you were undoubtedly going to hear 1 to 2 covers, and it was always this cool thing of like, oh shit, what are they going to play? Um, you know, and I think of like going to Yonder Mountain String Band shows back in the day and seeing them cover the Talking Heads and just being like, holy shit, they played a Talking Heads song, you know? So we, every tour, you know, pick 1 or 2 covers throughout the tour to throw into a set, just because it's fun, you know? And we definitely always do them our own way, you know? And I think there's so many songs that people forget that they love. So for me, when I'm picking a cover that I'm going to play, you know, it has to be one that I think people kind of forgot about. And when I was playing that Randy Travis song on tour, every single person, like, I'd always start and be like, how many of y'all grew up listening to country music? And some people would even fucking boo. And then I'd start playing the song and everyone would start singing it, you know?
Yeah. So does that mean that we're going to get to hear Garth Brooks when you're back out on the road?
Maybe, man. Maybe. He's got quite the catalog of good tunes. So yeah, perhaps. I just played these acoustic shows and I did an Alabama song and people really dug that.
Nice, nice. So now that you got this album's already out, and everything, what's kind of like the next step? Are you going to be pumping through a whole bunch more tracks to the next album, or we got a little ways away?
Well, so the new record, the first single for the new record will drop January 29th. And then we'll kind of release a single every 5-6 weeks until the album comes out in late June, I think is when we'll drop the album. And then, I mean, I'm always writing. So the next record is already, I think I'm 3 or 4 songs deep into a new record written. But yeah, our big focus right now is this record. You know, the single was just kind of idea. To give people something to listen to from the new record. So, yeah, it'll be a little while until the new record comes out.
But nothing.
Say again?
Nothing to the point you're gonna have like a B-sides album down that road.
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. You know, we'll see what the label has to say. I mean, if the label wanted me to do do some acoustic versions of the songs on the new record, I mean, I would be fully down. So
with the world kind of in this crazy state, I know it's giving you downtime with your child being outdoors, doing all that. Is there anything else kind of like outside the box because I mean, you're definitely somebody that kind of takes into account all of what's going around you and kind of put it into your writing, into your music. Is there something new? I mean, maybe there's long hikes with your child that we might start hearing in the music.
Yeah, I mean, the whole new record is really really drenched in that, you know, in my family. And there's a song that I wrote for my baby. You know, I try to put a song about my kids on every record. But yeah, I mean. You know, a big thing for me being home is I also am a mixed martial artist. So I'm able to train in a way that I have never been able to, because, you know, I always try to tone down the training before a tour so I don't get injured. You know, I have to be a lot more careful during a touring season, but with pretty hard and that feels really good. But yeah, as far as being outside and just being home, I mean, this whole new record is just drenched in the Bare Teeth Mountains. So
that being said, with mixed martial arts, I mean, usually people are coming out like their walkout songs and all these fights, they got that like adrenaline pumping beat. You got more of that like worldly, calm, nice, relaxed music. Do you listen to your own stuff when you're training, or you got something else going to get?
Yeah. Well, it's funny, man, because I actually have a bunch of friends that are pro fighters that have walked out to my music, which to me is just the most hilarious thing in the world, you know. Yeah, for me, I listen to you know, a lot of 90s gangster rap or really old country, you know, like yeah, if I had to pick a walkout song, it would probably be The Eagle by Waylon Jennings.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned some of the pro fighters. Is it anybody that we might know to kind of keep a lookout for?
Possibly. So, Benson Henderson, who he fights at Bellator now, but he was previously a UFC champion.
Absolutely.
You know, it's funny. There's this whole fight camp in North Carolina that I ended up training with for a few days. That was just really loved the music, and a couple of the fighters, Impa, who's now in the UFC, Impa Kasanganai. You know, it was this kind of funny game when I started the podcast of trying to find out how all these MMA fighters found my music. And I assumed that it was just some random coach or random dude at the gym, but we traced it all the way back to Benson Henderson. He was the one that was showing the music to everyone.
Wow.
Which I thought was pretty fucking cool.
Very cool. So are we going to see you enter the octagon anytime soon then?
Well, you know, man, I was actually supposed to have neck surgery on Wednesday. And I met with the surgeons and we went over the kind of pros and cons of the surgery, and I ended up pulling the plug on it and decided against it. So, you know, that was my plan, man. That was my plan, was to fight this last winter, but then COVID happened. And then, you know, the plan B was, okay, well, I'll have this neck surgery. We'll get all healed up and then I'll fight next winter. But with not having the surgery, I don't know, man. It's a hard thing for me because there's days where I feel 100% and I'm like, dude, I'll fight anybody right now. And then there's days like today where I trained real hard last night and I can really feel my body. So I don't know. We'll see. I really want to, man. I really, training is a very huge part of my life, and I don't know anyone that isn't a professional fighter that trains as hard as I do. So yes, hopefully you will see me fight.
Wow. I swear that just hearing that, you're like a walking contradiction. Your music is nice and calm and everything, and you're a fighter.
Well, man, I think there's people's relationship with violence has been weird. It's been taken out of context, where if you look at most ancient civilizations, I mean, since man has been walking upright, violence and practicing it in a safe, controlled way has been a part of the human experience since the dawn of time. So I think that there's this, and it's not for everybody, but I think that there's a calling for certain individuals where it can be like a missing link, because it's not about the violence itself. It's about the pursuit of getting better at something that you're never going to master. You're never going to master Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You're never going to be, there's just no end game, right? There's no end goal. You're just practicing it to keep getting better and keep getting better. And for me, it's been, monumental in my personal development to have something like that to give myself to. And as far as the fighting part, I'm rather calm when I'm training or fighting. I don't have huge adrenaline dumps. I'm not, running on high octane. I'm usually pretty mellow, which is weird. I think that it's not that way for some people, but for me, it is a really calming place where I can kind of find myself and shut off the rest of the world. It's like mindfulness at gunpoint,
Yeah. Well, too cool. Well, hey, one of the things I kind of wanted to know is, let's say tomorrow the world opens back up. What could we expect from the band and you?
You could expect a lot bigger sound. There's 4 of us now, and I want to make the band a little bigger to accompany the new record, because the new record is very big. It sounds very big. So I really want to. I just want our show to start being. It's going to be different. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be quite the change. So I think everyone can expect to see. Hopefully we're leaving people in awe, where people are like, "Holy shit, this is a whole new experience." So yeah, man, as soon as the world opens up, we're ready. We got a whole gang of new songs, and the band is tighter than ever. And yeah, we're ready. But yeah, it's going to be a lot bigger sound.
Awesome. Well, hey, I really appreciate your time. Anything you'd like to add, maybe for people that haven't got to hear you guys yet?
Yeah, you can check us out on anywhere that you stream music, or follow me on Instagram at Satsang. But yeah, just check out the catalog. It's a pretty steady stream of growth between the records, and the new one will be no different. You know, the sound just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and we will continue to do that. So yeah, if you want some music that has some substance that will make you feel good, check us out.
Awesome. Well, hey, again, really appreciate your time. Enjoy the weather out there and the outdoors.
Yeah, man. Have a good one and enjoy the sunshine.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Peace, bud.